See nobody. Okay, we will call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, November 29th. First item on our agenda tonight is roll call.
Miller, Rosado,
Here.
Beck,
Here.
Connolly,
Here.
Shansett,
Here.
Sofa,
Here.
Wolf,
Here.
Barron,
Here.
Lehman,
Here.
Ayazi,
Here.
Malay,
Here.
Brewer,
Here.
Cerrone,
Here.
and Vogelsinger. Here. We have 13 out of 14.
All right, thank you. And a reminder to please speak directly in your microphone for the BATV recording broadcast. Next is item 3, items to be removed, added, or changed. Is there any?
No.
Okay. And then item 4, matters from the public. Do we have anybody from the public?
I can check online.
Okay.
No online attendees, no.
Okay. All right, and then item number 5 would be a public hearing at 7:05 for proposed property tax levy. We don't have to wait to do that. Let's move on and we'll do item number 6. We'll do that one first. Mike, you got that?
Yes, this is to expand our firefighter eligibility list from 2 to 3 years, and it gives us a larger pool to recruit from. I believe Chief Hansen is here to give us a little bit more explanation on this.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. What we're asking for is the extension of the firefighter eligibility list, which is the initial hire list. Normally, that list is done for a 2-year period, but under home rule authority, we have the ability to extend it for a period that we deem reasonable. This was also done by the police department about a year ago. We're asking for the extension for one reason, because we normally use the COD, the College of DuPage Consortium, and they closed the consortium due to the pandemic, and they have not reopened it. It takes approximately over 6 months, 6 to 9 months to establish the testing procedures and process. So COD, when we talked to them in the spring, said that they would not be doing it here in the fall. We could go out individually and do it, but our neighbors and others who have done it, including the police department, have noticed a small pool of candidates. Our current eligibility list has 98 candidates on it, of which some of them happen to be paid on call with us and still have shown interest for the position. So we felt it not only economically important, but also to maintain a better pool of candidates to extend the list for another year. And hopefully, the environment, the hiring environment, employment environment, and pandemic will recede enough that we can move forward with some more testing in the year.
Okay.
Any questions?
I'm just curious, before the pandemic, like how many people would have been on a list like this?
Well, this one was
This was
pre-pandemic. So we had 98.
Okay.
I'll use a probably extreme example.
Yeah.
Sugar Grove has positions available. They tested in around February, and they got approximately a dozen personnel. They had eight positions open.
Okay.
So they tested. An average test will run, $10,000 to $20,000.
Okay.
They exhausted that list without filling all their positions and are now retesting again just to try to fill that pool. St. Charles, another neighbor, also tested, and they only got about a dozen candidates. Now they have a few more, but these lists usually see, lists of at least 50 to 100 candidates.
Okay, that's what I was
And
wondering.
we're
Yeah.
seeing maybe a
Just wait.
dozen on
Yeah.
average from our neighbors in other places. So it's a lot of expense for not much
Right.
candidate pool.
Right.
So we're looking at extending this and then evaluating other options as the PD has, and has
Right.
had some success in that, possibly some lateral transfers. But we're very fortunate here in Batavia. We're a desirable community to not only, live in, but work in and things. So there are people on these lists who would be interested in our positions. And we do have potential of at least two openings
Okay.
over the next year.
Anyone else?
I just have a comment. It absolutely makes sense to me.
Right.
Why would we give up that list if we have the authority to keep that?
Yeah, and we do under home rule. I wanted to make it a reasonable period of time rather than extend it a couple of years. I think, hopefully, we all hope within a year we'll see some stability in the job market, and that'll give us time to explore other alternatives, such as lateral transfers, or maybe if COD doesn't come back with a consortium, partnering with other communities around us to do a collaborative list.
Anyone else?
Don't see anybody with hands up.
I think this totally makes sense, so I'd like to make a motion to move to City Council Resolution 22-113R, a resolution exercising home rule authority to the Batavia Board of Fire and Police Commissioners to extend the current firefighter eligibility list.
Second?
Okay.
Motion by Rosato, second by Malay. Roll call.
Rosado,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Connolly,
Aye.
Chansett,
Aye.
Silva,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Lehman,
Aye.
Ayazi,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer,
Aye.
Saron,
Aye.
Vogelsinger, aye, and Millard.
Aye.
Motion carried 14-0.
Okay. Now we will back up and go to item number 5, as it is beyond 7:05. And we'll open the public hearing for approving the proposed tax levy, property tax levy. And we don't have anybody in the building, no one online?
No.
No hands up? Does anybody else have any questions? And we do have the 3 property tax levy ordinances coming up. Just to move those through back before we go back to a regular council meeting. So no questions? It's an easy night for you.
That is an easy night. There is a presentation, but it's just the same thing that we already went over.
Okay.
And since there is no one here, but if anyone that is viewing this wants to see it, they can go to the agenda and click through the slides.
Okay. And then at the city council meeting, when we do those, we run through that program when you get there to show that.
If you like.
I just think we should probably do that. That way, if we pass it, and if anybody's watching or is in the room, at least we have that go up one more time before and it'll be part of the meeting as well.
Sure,
Okay?
we can do that. All right.
Okay, if not, no questions, then can I get, Dan has his hand up. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess just a quick comment. When it comes to council, we should probably order the things together, the levies, and then because the raise in rates and whatnot are related to them, we should probably just take them all together in order like that.
Okay,
The raise in the utility rates is related to the capital improvements for those utilities, not related to the tax levy.
No, I mean on a larger budget item, they're adjacent. That's all.
Yes.
okay. No other comments, then I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Motion by Malay, second by Alpha. Roll call, please.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer,
Aye.
Saron,
Aye.
Vogelsinger, aye, Miller,
Aye.
Rosado,
Aye.
Beck, Connolly,
Aye.
Chanzit,
Aye.
Silva,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Lehman,
Aye.
and Ayazi.
Aye.
Motion carried 14-0.
Thank you. Okay, then we will move on to item number 7, which is Resolution 22-114R, authorizing purchase of one 1997 Seagrave apparatus from the city of St. Charles, Illinois, for the amount not to exceed $55,000. Alderman Rosado?
Yes, the Batavia Fire Department is requesting to purchase a 1997 Seagrave aerial ladder truck from the city of St. Charles due to a minor accident of our current truck. And as long as Chief Hansen is here, I'll have him elaborate on that.
Thank you all. Unfortunately, back in April, the ladder truck was involved in just a minor incident that caused some damage to the rear end of the truck. Due to part shortages and other mechanical situations, the custom-made truck requires custom-made parts. Consequently, the truck is looking at being out for an extended period of time. Truck is an integral life-saving piece of equipment that's pretty much necessitated within our operation, serves all what we call target hazard, high hazard areas, all schools, high life hazards, nursing homes, which as the mayor will tell you, we have multiple of, and any structures 3 stories or greater. So it serves not only as a response vehicle to our everyday calls, which we're seeing a great increase of, it also is a necessary piece of equipment for life-saving operations for these other things. Because of the time period that it needs to be out, we looked at options of either leasing a truck, borrowing a truck, or something like that to serve our needs for the time period this truck was out, such as you do maybe renting a car or something because you necessitate it for your personal lives. It just wasn't available. Due to the shortages of equipment and things, there's nothing to lease. And borrowing, we originally approached the city of St. Charles, who just happened to be purchasing a brand new ladder truck, and this one was going into reserve about possibly borrowing it. Situation that occurred a number of years ago where they had an accident with their truck and they actually borrowed one of our reserves at that time. Due to some legalities and et cetera, they would prefer that we purchase the truck than doing a lease. So after numerous discussions with them, we came up with the alternative to purchase the truck, and surprisingly enough, through an appraisal on the truck, it actually came out cheaper for us to buy the truck than it did to originally lease the truck. So the truck is fully certified. It's had its certification test for the ladders, the pumps, and everything else on it, and they also went ahead and put new brakes and things on it to make sure that it was fully serviceable and usable for us. So it's been inspected, it's been certified through the NFPA standard, and it's ready for use at this particular time. Our hope is that it will serve us and will serve us well while the other truck's out for an unknown period of time. But we're also facing the fact that our current ladder truck is up for replacement. We had budgeted in the replacement program over the 20-year service life for a $1.1 million replacement. The current replacement cost for that truck is $1.9 million. We're hoping, and the delay in time to receive the truck went from what used to be a year to now what's going to be a minimum of 3 years on the replacement. So the truck our current truck is looking at possibly a 5-year extended life, which currently over the last 5 years, it's averaging approximately $40,000 in repairs per year. We're hoping by having a reserve truck, we will minimize the downtime and extend the life of the existing truck through this process, also making it kind of a win-win situation. So that's our recommendation at this point in time.
And at such time as we're able to take possession of the new ladder truck, we would still be able to surplus this vehicle and then, recoup whatever the value was at that time. So when you do the net of what we're paying now minus what we'll be able to get when we surplus the truck, it is even less compared to what it would cost to lease a vehicle.
Yeah.
And would we end up keeping one of those after we replace the one we have?
We would probably, honestly, I'd probably come back and recommend the retaining the existing
Okay.
primary ladder truck
Okay.
in order to reduce the wear and tear and service life. As you know, when we first initially put in the replacement programs for 20 years, we were running about 50% of the call volume that we currently run.
Mm-hmm.
So there's greater wear and tear on them. It's obviously the most expensive vehicle in the fleet, if not the most expensive vehicle in the city's asset department, especially at $1.9 million. So we would like to look at extending the life, basically, as you do kind of at home by having two cars to share the load of daily usage rather than one. And it would also help us not have extended downtimes and require, actually, the only man truck at this point in time that services us on an auto aid is St. Charles. So they were more than supportive, because then they don't have to run their truck up here on our calls when we're both servicing over about 5,000 calls a year. So you're looking at a tremendous call volume.
And nor would it take the time, in case of emergency, for that truck to have to
Get
come
there.
down from St. Charles.
Right.
It'd be housed right here in the city.
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
we split them on either side of the river, then you could be able to run those in shorter legs
Right,
to be
but
able
we could look at, in the future, jump companies and things of that necessity so that you
if
get
you needed.
a more prompt response in an emergency such as a nursing home.
And there's space I'm sure there's space at,
There is
either side.
space at Station 2.
Okay.
This particular truck would be housed in reserve at Station 2. And we would be, we currently have the old Seagrave fire engine.
Mhm.
We just replaced this year. We will be surplusing that one. We actually might have a lead on that one. And those funds would then come back into the replacement program to help offset this initial purchase. But this one is available now. It's like buying it from family. It's a known commodity, and it's had great service life. The only reason for replacement is it was projected for replacement at 20-year service.
Okay. And how old is the one that we have now, the one that got in the accident?
It's a 2006.
2006.
It appears the new one is, because of a 97, you'll understand this, it's predominantly mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have computerized systems in it, so.
Well, and that was going to be one of my questions. Would it even make more sense to keep the older one if it's in better shape, or make that decision when you get to that point?
We would need to make that decision
Right.
when we get to the point, but the serviceability of this reserve ladder truck
Mhm.
is actually
Easier?
easier for us and will probably have less downtime than our existing truck.
Okay.
Alderman Ewer?
Yeah, I've got a handful of questions. How long do you expect the repair to take on the current truck? And the current truck, we're still using it, right now, or has it been out of service since April?
No, it's primarily cosmetic, the operation of it. The accident caused the rear passenger side of it to be inaccessible to the platform and the ladder, so you have to access it only from the driver's side at this point, but it did not render it unusable. Initially, we got anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months, depending on parts turnaround. It is, fire apparatus are custom made, and therefore the parts have to be custom made. And fire trucks and fire engines are 2 to 3 years out. Custom making parts is not a priority for the manufacturer. There's not the money in that. So they fit them in when they have time, and the third-party body companies basically have told us they can't project the time frame. They've told us anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months.
Okay, so I guess if this is a parts issue, so like if I need to get my car fixed, but it's still usable, I don't just give it to the body shop or to the shop right now and say, yeah, just tell me whenever you get the parts and start working on it. I still use it until those parts come in. Seems like we can shrink that window dramatically by just waiting for them to have the parts, and then shouldn't affect us. If the vehicle's operational, I guess I don't entirely understand if it's mostly cosmetic and it's still maybe an inconvenience right now, but it's still workable. So I'll let you come back to that. I guess
Well,
I'm
Mark,
also concerned about
I
like
can answer that. It's
long-term.
because it's a custom part. It's not something that they can order the part and let us know when the part comes in. It is fit and finish
Right. There-
work that's done, and so the part is constantly being put onto the truck, and then, okay, we need to trim and make sure that it's fitting, take it off, it needs to be reworked, put it back on, see if we're done with it. So it's coming on and off the truck during that period of time that they are custom making the part.
There-
Okay,
there-
now I'm really confused because why would they not have the specs of what they put on the vehicle to begin with? It would just seem, if somebody makes me a custom part, now they have the specs so that they can easily manufacture it and fit it, and it shouldn't take months at that point to put it on and off the vehicle. I don't understand is the part exists and it's like, okay, we just have to make sure it fits. I'm struggling with that, but let me move on.
I can answer that, Alderman, if you'd like. We had a situation on the same truck where unfortunately, we curbed the tire, did some tire damage on it, just prior to the pandemic. Up 30 from Wilson, making the turn to go northbound on 31. You have a high curb right there, and that's a tight corner. We caught that corner. We did some damage to the wheel and assembly. So we went out to get that repaired. What we found out on that truck, which was an advantage to you at the time, it was a demo truck. We purchased it as a demo truck, but then we had some customization done to the truck. So we had to order a new assembly for it. That it was, well, I have it here. It's $49,000 in year. The part they did the parts, they sent them to us, and they didn't fit. And the reason why is their original plans on it don't match the truck. It came back, it was supposed to have steel rims and everything. Well, we had aluminum rims and a different we had an actual different turning radius on the axle on it. So that not only increased the cost repair on it, it also set the truck back. Their intention is, because of the inconsistency in the original manufacturer in the truck, is they're going to take the parts off, send them up to Pearson, Appleton, Wisconsin, and have them manufactured off the existing parts. So we have to disassemble the truck and send them up there. A company named Kurtz out of Elgin is actually doing the body work because basically Pierce doesn't have the room, nor do they want the truck up there.
And I do know somebody that works in that industry, and no two boxes are alike on those trucks. And most of the time, side to side, they're not even the same. So to try to say it's the exact same one that gets built 20 times a year is just not true. They're just custom boxes, and they can be an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch off. Well, if you're trying to get a hinge that fits a 4 or 5 foot door on the side of it to match what was on there, the only way they're going to do it is if they take it apart, cut out what's bad, replace the panels and the doors, whatever's damaged, and then they make it work. They put it back together and make it work.
Yeah, they custom MIG weld them in.
Yep.
And
It's a real process.
Basically, they have to build the rear end of the truck.
Okay. Now, for the body shop to rebuild it, is that super critical? I mean, I've got multiple cars with dents in it. I really don't care. Is that a critical thing that we really want to spend money on, I guess, is?
Well, it's not just cosmetic. It is somewhat functional because we can't access the truck from both sides, but it's also was covered by insurance. And we did file a claim, and we have collected the money to do so. We've just put off. It's at no cost to the city specifically, unless we do some additional longevity work on it while they have it open. Sometimes it's an opportunity to change some bearings or do something else while it's in there to add longevity. But all the body work and the custom has already been covered by insurance, and we've taken payment of that. We've just delayed the repair in order to find room in the body shop and to find an alternative to the truck being out of service for an extended period of time.
Okay. Couple more things. I don't see anything in here. You already mentioned that on the current truck, it's about $40,000 a year in maintenance. on it. So how are we accounting for the fact that this is going to be at least that much from a maintenance perspective on this truck, as well as we just going to leave the St. Charles logo on it, or is that going to be like an additional cost to make it look like the rest of the fleet?
I can already, St. Charles has removed all their logo, striping, and et cetera from the truck, so the truck will come to us just plain red.
Okay, so is there a cost associated with? Are you planning on making it match the rest of the vehicles, or
Yeah,
what's that cost?
obviously, yeah, we would look at having it, the emblems, the Batavia emblems put on it and restriped. Cost on that, haven't got an estimate on it, but on our last engine, the Sudfin we just purchased, it was about $4,000.
Okay.
That's for customized lettering.
So, is this not? I get it. I get it's a ladder truck and stuff, but isn't this the kind of thing that we benefit from mutual aid anyway? That hey, we have something on a service, or we're shifting stuff around between departments to kind of cover each other. So, isn't this something that would be covered under our mutual aid?
I think Chief covered that earlier, where he said that were we not to decide to purchase this vehicle, that St. Charles would be running down on the calls that we needed a ladder truck for. It would just be a matter of, do we want to incur that additional time to wait for that truck to have to relocate?
Yeah, we've looked into the auto aid aspect of it. St. Charles is our primary auto aid. From there, what we call our computer-aided dispatch center looks for the next available truck. Next available man truck would then be Aurora at this point in time, and it depends on the availability of those trucks. After that, it goes to Naperville, and your timeline starts to get out 5, 10, 15 minutes. Now, we do have area trucks like Geneva's. Geneva just purchased a brand new one. It's out for 3 months in repairs. They had also an axle problem. Happens when you do driver training or catch a curb. Elburn's truck, we try to look into utilizing it. Their truck has been down more than it's been in service for the last period of year. And there's nothing further west. Then we go east into basically West Chicago and Wheaton, and then we're out more than 15 minutes. And at that point in time, basically, it's not considered a reasonable period of time under NFPA or the ISO accreditation aspect. So we would lose any credit for a truck at that point in time.
Okay, but it's something that we do right now anyway. I mean, people are covering each other for these types of circumstances. So I guess
Yes, our call volume is such that when we exceed our normal calls, yes, we look to auto aid to assist us, but they also in turn look for us to assist them. If you give assistance one way too often, they have the ability to say, we just don't have the ability to assist you anymore. Sure. It's done through, a mutual agreement. Well, we send you assistance when you need it, but we need to send them, reciprocate that assistance.
Sure, no, I get that. I'm surprised that they wouldn't want to lease us, or even maybe do an intergovernmental agreement or something, so that we could just say, hey, can you guys just keep it around for a little bit just in case? And because now we're just assuming all that risk. We're assuming more insurance, I'm guessing, by having an additional truck. I feel like there's a lot of costs that have not been presented to us in this. We're just looking at the purchase cost. And then if you talk about keeping it for a while to, maybe extend the life of the other truck, which I love the idea of, but this is already a 26-year-old truck or whatever that. Sorry, my math is bad tonight. But, we're going to have additional maintenance costs anyway. Like I said, I love to extend the life of things. And every time I've asked to extend the life of, pickups and things like that, I get told, no, absolutely not. It costs too much to continue to maintain these. We can't do that. We have to buy new new vehicle. So I'm struggling, as you can hear. There's not enough costs in front of me to make a decision. Recollection, so if they took off, if you're going to just put stickers on it, vinyl on it to make it kind of look like Batavia, it won't look like Batavia because I believe that they have. I was looking at St. Charles site today and I thought that their trucks looked like a different color pattern than ours anyway from a paint standpoint. So I don't know if you were planning on repainting them so it'd be like it fit completely or what you were thinking of there. But I'm sorry, I'm a no on this. So
Is this important to maintain our ISO 1 rating?
It's integral to the ISO 1 rating. You have to have a truck on
Right.
fires.
Any other? Leah?
Yeah, so if I'm understanding correct, we're trying to acquire this truck because our current ladder truck is going to be out for 6 weeks to 3 months.
An unknown period
Is
of
that the
time.
primary reason for acquiring this reserve truck?
It was the primary reason, but we're also looking at it as an extension of life for the existing truck.
And so St. Charles just got a new ladder truck, but now they're getting rid of their reserve truck, so they won't have a reserve truck anymore.
No, they do have a reserve.
They have an additional third.
Yeah, they started running the reserve 10 years ago for the same purpose because their call volume had exceeded 4,000 calls at the time.
Okay.
And they were, because they're also a ISO class 1 required on fires and other things to target, all responses to target hazards.
I guess I'm kind of agreeing with Mark here, like, the long-term expense of acquiring a 26-year-old vehicle, just to cover us for a couple of months. I'm also just trying to understand, like, if that's good for the department and for the city, but I also understand, like, we all have all of this in our best interest, and we're just trying to wrap our minds around it, but.
I think really we're looking at it as hanging on to it for a 5-year period of time, and even if over that course of time it lost 50% of its value, we would still be looking at a like $5,000 per year expense to have an entire ladder truck at our use for maintaining our ISO certification, making sure that this vehicle is in our town to respond to emergencies. And so in balance, compared to $1.9 million that we're paying for a new asset, the $5,000 seems like a minimal expense to offer us that security to have an apparatus.
But we wouldn't be able to sell it then after 5 years.
Oh, yeah, we sure can.
At the-
That's what I'm saying is even if we sell it after 5 years, because that's what St. Charles would have done with this truck, is they would have surplused it. So instead of surplusing it, they're selling it to us due to our need to have the replacement for the repair and also due to both the extended time period that it's going to take because of our need to replace our ladder truck and time to figure out the additional cost of the vehicle that we're going to need to purchase. And so at the end of the period of time, once we get our vehicle replaced, we can surplus that truck. And like I said, even if it's only half the value, it's really not a big expense to have this asset.
I think we're very fortunate to have this situation come up, to be honest with you. You know,
It was fortunate.
if we're gonna, even if there was a lease option, which it doesn't sound like there's much lease option, we still would have other expenses of maintenance, insurance, lettering, or stickers, or so I think the fact that I would venture to say we'll probably come out ahead in the long run
We may.
by not leasing, but rather purchasing and going ahead and selling it and having that additional resource in the meantime. So,
And, you're talking, what, $40,000 a year as you're betting our typical on the new truck?
On the existing
On the
truck.
existing truck
Yeah.
we have, that's a 2006, and I'm thinking that, just from history of what I know of these things, you go back further, say to the 97, I don't think you're looking at a $40,000 a year expense to keep that truck running, because every system on it is much more rudimentary, much more mechanical, a lot less electronic controls. It's just a different thing, and the truck that we have, I'm sure, is a much heavier chassis than what the 97 is.
Yes, it is.
So, I look at it, even, I know right off the bat when we got that truck, the thing was just eating rear tires because it's so heavy and the size and the type of axle that's on it, it just chews through tires. I'm sure in the older truck, it's not anywhere near as heavy, probably doesn't go through tires nearly as quickly. And, that was why I asked the question, which one of them would we keep if we were going to move forward with that? To me, I think having two trucks in the city as a backup and the availability on both sides of the river, that would just cut the response time down immensely. To me, it would.
I also see it as a bridge here because, the schedule of replacing the current truck was coming up and the price, if I'm doing math in my head right, it's like, we're talking 30%.
Yes.
That the price
That's
has
the
gone
average
up.
cost.
So the market for these trucks,
Yeah.
there's a lot of municipalities that are going to be looking at how can we get by without spending $2 million here?
There's a greater interest
And
in
wait 3
actually,
years.
rebuilding or rehabbing the older trucks, recertifying them.
I see the market for resale on that looking pretty
Plus,
good.
if we have two trucks and we run them opposite sides of the river and you cut down the runs that the newer truck makes, you cut down the expense you're going to have on it, the mileage on it, those costs get shared between the two trucks.
To help explain that, because I just replaced the two steer tires on our engine one today. Tires right now for those were $930 each. So if we say they're an average, that's just the tire, not to have the tire mounted and put on and balanced. But so if the average tire, which it is $1,000 per vehicle, per tire on that particular vehicle, you have 10 tires on it. So when you're wondering why it costs me $40,000 average, I go through a set of tires a year on that vehicle. So it's $10,000 in tires alone, plus I have to have it ladder certified, I have to have it pump certified. So initially, just to have it on the road, just wear and tear, is $20,000 without any mechanical problems or anything.
So actually the discussion is then it's not really a reserve truck. We're actually looking to put this into the fleet and manning it on both sides of the river.
No, not at this time. We
Not
don't,
at this time.
no, it would be a reserve truck. It would
it wouldn't
serve
be
when
on-
the other truck is out of service at this point in time.
So it would not actually be on call on the west side.
Not initially, because it needs to run in service of the other truck.
And
initially.
once we get then our current truck back, then it would be considered that
Then
we
we-
would hire more people so that it would be manned on the west side.
We could consider that. We have to study that a little bit further and see what the overall costs are.
Okay, so we're actually
It's an
talking two
option.
different things right now then.
I guess my thought is after the other truck is fixed, if that one's on the other side of the river, you make the decision when you leave for the call, do you need to go to an accident scene with an engine, or do you need to go to a house fire or structure fire or a place where you need a ladder, and you take the ladder truck?
It's an option. The company could jump to that vehicle and take it if it's in that station. If a report was such that someone was trapped on an upper floor and needed immediate rescue, it would be available for that because it's there, just like our second engine. If you jump in it, and the reserve engine's there, and it doesn't start for some reason, they jump to the other engine. But it's the same crew, and I believe that's
So
what
we
Alderman
wouldn't-
Wolf's talking about.
So we wouldn't really be available to have everything then at Station 2 available. It would be you choose one or the other.
Right, and that's how it exists now
Okay.
through Jump Con. We just don't have the staffing to staff everything.
Okay.
I mean, do they make that decision if they leave, say they leave the east side station where the ladder truck is usually at? Do they
At
make
pre-
the decision which truck to take?
At present, the ladder truck is a jump company between the squad and the ladder, yes. So that's done every call every day.
Yeah, Alderman Beck has a question.
Just because now I'm curious, out of you said 4,000 calls a year, that was St. Charles.
No, we're
We're
about
at
4,000 now, yes.
So then how many of them require the ladder? I understand the ladder truck probably goes on more calls than it needs the actual ladder for, but how often does the ladder get used?
The actual ladder for rescue above grade aspect, to actually extend and use the ladder, probably only a small percentage of the time, but the ladder truck serves in other purposes. The truck has specific duties and responsibilities on interior firefighting. Overhaul, the truck is responsible for life rescue and things. So the truck necessarily, like ladder extending and stuff, is not used. It's not used on all structure fire, all life rescue aspects, but it also responds to medical emergencies, entrapments, above grade rescues, anything that's above 10 feet in height and rescues and things like that. So it does run on additional calls. It probably runs on at least over 30% of the calls within town the truck runs on now. Utilization of the actual ladder and things is less than 10%.
Alderman Ewer?
Yeah, I think we're talking about, hey, this is going to be a cost savings, but it won't be a cost savings because there's going to be insurance and maintenance. And without knowing what those insurance costs are and maintenance costs are, we're actually digging into the funds to purchase a new vehicle later. And if those new vehicles are already higher in price, now we're losing money. And that's just another concern, especially if you plan on keeping this in service for 5 years. And so I guess I'd like to see what the maintenance costs for St. Charles have been over the past couple of years for that vehicle. And really kind of start estimating, well, what's that going to be for us if you want to keep this for 5 years? Because I don't see keeping it for 5 years. I don't see it. If it only goes out on 30% of calls, ladder is used less than 10% of the time. I mean, it's obviously, it's important because we have a few taller structures around town, but this isn't a metropolis. So I can't imagine having two of them, especially on the west side. I'm trying to picture tall structures on the west side of town, and I can't at this point in time. So without having more details, especially a truck you're going to keep in service for 5 years, that's different than, I can only guess that you're going to want to paint it. You're not going to want to have this, hey, what is that other truck? Doesn't fit our scheme. And that's an additional cost. So maintenance, insurance, painting, whatever it is that you're going to do, it's beyond the 55,000.
Are you anticipating
So I just like
painting
to
the
understand
truck,
more.
Chief, or just striping it?
No, we were not going to repaint it. We were
No.
going to actually stripe it. And the cab, I'll be honest with you, the cab is a black over red, just the front part of the cab. And that was going to be wrapped, just like we do police cars, to get either the black side or the white side on. Now, you usually just wrap them rather than paint them. So wrapping them is a lot more economical and serves the same need. So
Okay. I guess, again, I want to understand the maintenance and insurance costs that we'd be incurring if we're going to have this for 5 years. So I can't vote for this until I have those other costs, because it's, like I said, it's going to eat into our ability to pay for a full truck later.
I understand your concerns. I can reiterate that St. Charles had the same concerns, and the reason they wanted to sell it rather than loan it or lease it to us is they were also concerned about the wear and tear done to the truck, potential damage to the truck, insuring it themselves for our usage. They were interested primarily in selling it to us at what I believe is actually a very fair market price, because we are their second truck. So we are their auto aid truck. Our truck is down, they have the same problem. They have to go out to Aurora or Elgin, or all the way out to Wheaton for the next man truck. So
Except they have two.
I thought you said they had a spare.
they do. But if they're on another call, so they only man one truck at a time. They keep it in service at all times. But if that truck is tied up on a call and they get a second call for a truck, our truck's the truck that responds.
It's a matter of personnel.
Which
It's a
is our situation also, though.
which is our situation reverse. If our truck's not available, we have to call for their truck, where they're our second truck. And beyond that, we go out just as far to Aurora, Wheaton, Naperville, or Elgin for the next truck, next man truck.
Alderman Vogelsinger?
Thank you. I have two questions. First one, do you think we would be putting ourselves at risk if we did not opt to purchase this vehicle and instead waited for ours to be repaired with the types of calls that we get? yeah, do you feel like we would be put at risk of not being able to service those calls?
Yes, that's the reason I'm asking for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is an essential life-saving piece of equipment. If you get a
I,
fire in any structure, second floor, third floor or greater, and the large amount of nursing home and senior homes that we have, yes, that's the reason I want to keep a truck in service at all times.
okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Is the department on board with working with this somewhat older vehicle? I think it was mentioned that it is currently 26 years old. Is that correct?
25 years old, but
Okay.
yeah, well, it will be. It depends on what year you use, a month or so. We would have to go through what's a training program with them,
Okay.
an in-service program. St. Charles is willing to do that for us, which is an advantage also. We work auto aid, we do training, mutual aid training. Part of our requirement for our ISO 1 is to do auto aid training, and this will fulfill that necessity so we know each other's equipment in cases of emergency and things. So yes, we'd have an extensive, probably at minimum a month's training with this particular truck before we'd be able to in-service it.
Okay. And the department feels confident about this particular vehicle piece of equipment?
Again, they'd have to go through the training and be familiar with it in order to utilize it. We did the same thing with our brand new engine. Every piece of new equipment requires full training and a sign off. We do basically a procedure book of equipment to make sure that they are fully comfortable and trained and able to use that piece of equipment. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Alderman?
I understand a lot of the concerns, but I ultimately think that this will help keep our community safe for having a reserve truck, so I'll be in support of it.
Yes, I do as well. I think we should move forward with this. Is there any other discussion? Alderman Barron?
I just have a question. As we're talking about this cost for this, where are we looking at pulling that money from the budget?
Typically, we look at the cost centers overall, and I don't think that the fire department, that the purchase of this would push that budget over. So it wouldn't be something where if you decide to make this purchase and you give authorization to the fire department to do that, that it will require any type of budget adjustment.
This is actually budgeted in the Fire Capital Replacement Fund for 2023. So it was a line item in the fund where we set money aside for capital purchases.
Okay,
Of course, if you decide not to purchase it, the money will just remain in that fund.
So it's like a big fund almost going towards this $2 million truck, so it kind of just takes from that a little bit,
Yes,
and we just kind of have to replace it, extend the life of these vehicles a little bit longer to make up that money.
yes.
Thank you.
Or transfer additional funds from the general fund if you needed to.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
And it's, again, is it possible to provide us like a 5-year cost for this and an estimated 5-year cost, insurance, expected maintenance and everything? Because again, we talk about we're saving money, but we're not. I mean, you can't spend money and save money at the same time. So if we're trying to save for another truck, spending money on this truck is not going to save for it. Maybe for a short term, but 5 years, I have a really hard time understanding. Because we have reserve trucks by all the other fire departments and the mutual aid we have. That's what our reserve trucks are in a normal circumstance. So I understand what you're trying to do in a temporary circumstance. I just don't get it in the long run, that it's actually going to benefit us overall. Because it's not like we have the staffing to say, hey, we're going to send out a bunch of ladder trucks all over or need, for that matter.
Alan? I just want to throw this
Pull the
in.
microphone in a little bit closer, Mayor. Thank you. Sorry, it's all the way. It's just pushed too far back.
I just want to point out when we're talking about this is going to cost money and all this good stuff, Right now, the Batavia Fire Department sits here with an ISO, or Insurance Services Office Class 1 rating. Now, that's as good as it gets. And we get that, they come back, every 4 years or every 5 years and retest it. But if something happens and suddenly we don't have the components that are there to support this rating, if ISO wants to, they could probably march in here and start asking a whole bunch of questions, and potentially they could lower our rating. Now, when they lower our rating, it's not in the city council budget, but it's probably going to be on everybody's insurance policy in this town. You'll get an increase in your fire insurance. So that's the other side of this thing about trying to save money. Yeah, you may think you're saving something, but if you drop the ISO rating, interestingly, the retired head of ISO is a Batavia resident, and he just retired here about a year and a half ago. I know him very well, and I'm going to go down tomorrow and have a conversation with him and get his direct opinion as to what he thinks if we don't replace the ladder truck, what that would potentially do for the ISO rating, because he's the guy that's made the decision for probably almost every fire department in the area as to what their rating is, and he's got some pretty hardcore ideas as to what you can and cannot do with these ISO ratings. And it was a major coup for Batavia. I think we got ours before St. Charles got theirs by a few months. And so when you get an ISO 1, that's something to be said for the community and the fire department that we have that kind of rating, because it impacts the residential insurance, but I think the ones that really get a nice savings is the industrial folks.
Yes.
They're the ones that get a big reduction because we got this ISO rating. So I would be here screaming and hollering if we said, well, we're going to not do this because we want to save money, and then suddenly we get hit with an ISO reduction. I think there'd be a lot of egg on anybody's face that wants to say, well, I was trying to save money for the taxpayers, but at the end of the day, it kind of blew up in my face, and we're now getting an increase on the taxpayers in their insurance policies. So I'll have something to report Monday night to you about what the director of ISO said.
So if our truck is just in maintenance, that's not going to impact ISO though. No.
I mean, this for a long term it would. If that's why we want to do this.
Well, but otherwise it's just do we have to have a reserve truck for ISO rating?
Well, we do.
The ISO rating and the review on the ISO rating is the truck at the required calls. Doesn't matter if it's in maintenance or not in maintenance. They look at the period of 2 years to see if that truck was at all the required target hazards, either high value, high life, or high rise. Mm-hmm. And we print that out and we show a truck. And the truck is supposed to be within 1.5 miles or 5 miles from the location. You get different ratings based on it. And then you do get credit, it's not a lot, 0.5 point for a reserve truck if you have it. If you use an auto-aid truck, they just look at the time, the response to get there. And if it's over 10 minutes, you get no credit for it. So it isn't a matter of it's in maintenance or it's not, just like your staffing. If your other vehicles are on a call, it doesn't matter. It's what shows up on that call and how much time it takes to get your initial firefighting force, is what it's called, to that alarm. They don't really care where everything else is. They want to know the initial firefighting force on that alarm.
And to Mark's point, we're not trying to draw this out. I just have like a few more questions. To Mark's point with the insurance, if it's a reserve truck just sitting at Station 2, do we have to insure it? Or like it's regular insurance or?
Yeah, it's no different than a vehicle you have at home. It has to have insurance. And then when it's being utilized, it's ready to go. As for Alderman Wolf, they may need to take it immediately. So it's insured.
So we're treating it like a part of the fleet. Okay.
Yeah, it's considered just like our reserve fire engines. It's there for immediate use, and it's available for recall personnel and additional staffing. If you have a large fire and recall personnel come in, they can bring in the secondary ladder truck. So for large complexes, as Alderman Ure said, out west, like Windmill Manor, minimum landings that are now 4 stories in height and have over 100 senior residents in them, you might want a secondary aerial device to help those people. They're not as capable of self-preservation, self-rescue. That's why there's balconies and things.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear, Mayor, as well, that my concern is more about this as a reserve vehicle over time. That I don't see the need. I'm starting to understand a little bit more. Hey, let's have something. It could be like 6 months. We don't want to be without something for those 6 months. I have a problem with the next 4.5 years. That it's just more money being spent for something that only goes out on 30% of the calls, and now it's going to go out on 15% of the calls if we just divide it east-west, and then get used on 5% of the calls, like as a ladder truck. So it seems like a lot of money to spend on something that right now isn't used that much, and obviously if you split the load between 2 trucks, then it's not going to really be used even half as much, and we're having to maintain it, and I don't know what those maintenance costs are. That still has not been made clear to me.
The advantage, Alderman, to this is I can get those maintenance records for you. They are available, unlike most used vehicles you have. So I am I'm happy to get those for you. But past maintenance records are not a prediction of future maintenance records. So, I know that it's in good shape. I know that it's been certified NFPA already, and they also they actually did the service on it in order to sell it because it is coming to their town also. So it's part of the reason that they are willing to work with us on this truck is because it will also be their secondary truck and assistance to their community. But I would be happy to get those records for you if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. And I know the past maintenance doesn't have any impact in the future because I've spent a ridiculous amount of money maintaining my cars over the past 3 months. So that I didn't have to spend before. So.
Anyone else? Any other suggestions? I would like to move forward with this. I think this is good for the city. I think $55,000 is not, it's a large amount, but I think we have it budgeted in our capital improvements. So I would make a motion that we move to City Council Resolution 22114R, authorizing the purchase of a 1997 100-foot Seagrave ladder truck from the City of St. Charles Fire Department.
Second.
Motion made by Rosado, second by Malay. Jenny, roll call.
Rosado,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Connolly,
Aye.
Chanzit,
Aye.
Silva,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Lehman,
Aye.
Ayazi,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer,
No.
Saron,
Aye.
Vogelsinger,
Aye.
and Miller.
Aye.
Motion carried 13-1.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, we'll move on then to item 8, which is ordinance 2256, the 2022 tax levy. Dan, did you want to talk about this, or do we just want to run through these?
And yeah, I was gonna say this is a revisit of what we had a couple of weeks ago. This has the new updated numbers in them. The first one is the levy, and then we have the 2 related SSAs. Do we have any additional discussion we want to do on this?
I don't believe so.
If not, I would move that we send ordinance 22-56, the 2022 tax levy, to council for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Chanzit,
Aye.
Silva,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Lehman,
Aye.
Ayazi,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer,
Aye.
Saron,
Aye.
Vogelsinger,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosado,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Connolly.
Aye.
Motion carried 14-0.
Thank you. Up next is item 9, ordinance 2257, SSA number 30, tax levy. Alderman Chanzit.
I move that we send this to council.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Chanzit.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Barron.
Aye.
Lehman.
Aye.
Ayazi.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Sabrone.
Aye.
Vogelsinger.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Rosado.
Aye.
Beck.
Aye.
And Connolly.
Aye.
Motion carried 14-0.
All right, thank you. Up next is ordinance 2258, SSA number 62, tax levy. Alderman Chanzit.
Yep, this one for Main Street downtown. I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Chanzit.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Barron.
Aye.
Lehman.
Aye.
Ayazi.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Sabrone.
Aye.
Vogelsinger. Miller.
Aye.
Rosado.
Aye.
Beck.
Aye.
And Connolly.
Aye.
Motion carried 14-0.
All right, thank you. Up next is resolution 22115R, authorizing approval of contract with Polco and National Research Center to administer an employee survey. Alderman Chanzit.
Indeed, it has been a few years since we have done a survey. We saw in Wendy's memo, this is to update and use for benchmarking. Yes, if Wendy's available, is there anything you'd like to add?
Sure. There's been many years, actually, even prior to me starting. So since we've done a full-fledged employee engagement survey, we've done other surveys relating to things like succession planning, wellness initiatives, health and health insurance, things like that throughout the time. But we've never done a full-fledged employee engagement. I think it's important that we do this. Like we mentioned, we already have an existing relationship with Polco, and I spoke with them in regards to their professional services. They have a very good tool also, which allows for the breadth and the width of what services they provide by bundling it, and because we already have a relationship with Polco, the costs are less, and if we can lock in this rate this year with the survey to be had next year, lock in the 2022 pricing. The other thing also, I think, with using a third party also is just important from, it's very simple, but confidentiality and response with our employees. I think with knowing that a third party, outside party is managing the survey itself, hopefully we'll get some really good data and some information to kind of know where we are.
And we also get a lot of nice ability to benchmark when we utilize a company like this. Absolutely. And the fact that they're the instruments that they use have been appropriately tested.
Absolutely.
Do they, I'm sorry, looking here. Do they interview or survey every single employee?
So it would be an online survey. So it would be, every employee would be able to send that out. And what we'll do is we'll put together basically a campaign, and I'll have at least the dashboard to know how people are responding, and we'll make sure we give people time, especially in our areas that don't normally have computer time. We'll definitely make sure that they have the time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
What is, in the past, what has the response percentage been? How many percentage of our employees?
So like you said, I haven't done a survey like this here. The other surveys have been low, I'll be honest. So while we haven't made them mandatory, things like specifically we did in our wellness initiatives, we did a wellness risk assessment survey. We had maybe it was 30% response. So it was, I mean, we do get typically a lower response. And that's why sometimes in general, to throw out a survey, to do a survey, sometimes I'm a little bit skeptical, because if we get the same 45 people that answer, it's the same. We want to hear from everybody else that we're not hearing from. And this tool will hopefully give us an opportunity to do that.
And so this price is just a set price. It doesn't matter if 200 people respond or 30 people respond.
Yes.
It's just,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But it certainly would be nice to have very high participation. I would certainly be in favor of like an employee lunch or something like that if we hit a very, very high number. Just anything to give back to show them how important it is that we hear from them.
Absolutely.
Any additional discussion?
Mark has his hand up.
Yep.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I love the idea of this. We've been doing this a lot at my company, and I love the fact that it's with an existing vendor. Simplifies things dramatically. And the only suggestion I would have, again, what Alderman Chancha just said, some sort of reward for hitting a high percentage is great. You really have to get from this vendor, somehow communicate to all the staff that it truly is anonymous.
Right.
That's always the biggest hurdle, is they just don't believe it.
Right.
So if somehow they can provide us, hey, by the way, here's the sample reports, this is what they provide to us, and you can see that people's names aren't in there. I know stuff we've done that it won't even give like to a direct leader if like less than 5 people in an area respond to it, then they won't give that aggregate to that leader, so they don't feel like, oh, hey, yeah, I recognize those comments. That would have been so and so. It tends to be even safer than most surveys when they are really hiding that information. So whatever you can do to keep on telling everybody, it truly is anonymous.
Yeah, absolutely. We even, we're not going to, the good and the bad of it, we're going to have each division or department, for example, Public Works, police, and fire, and then administration. Because as you can imagine, like you mentioned with the administration, there's so many small departments. So if I looked at IT, I'd be able to tell who was saying that, and we don't want that. That's not the point of it. We want to, so administration is going to have similar experiences in an office, environment. So we'll look at them as a group, as a whole. So, absolutely. So. Yeah, and I agree. There's always going to be, the reality is there's always going to be people who are skeptical. We face that same thing with our biometric screening. We provide free biometric screenings annually, and we really do struggle. We've talked about struggling to get a response, to get a high participation. We've done tons of incentives and things along those lines, and some people have just, even come to my office and said, look, it's nothing you're doing. I just don't trust the company. I'm afraid they're going to sell my information somewhere, so I'm just not doing it. So, we're just unfortunately gonna, in this environment that we have, it is true, you never know what happens with your data, so people who are a little bit more skeptical, sometimes it's difficult to convince them otherwise.
What would a good percentage be for you for?
I would like, I know it's a high, but I would like 80%. I think 80% is going to get, I would say if we don't get at least 65%, I don't feel like it's even valid. So, because there's such a large population you're going to miss. So like you said, I really do intend on putting together a good campaigning. They have great marketing materials and also some incentives to hopefully get the group and give them time. Like, for example, what we've done in the past, for example, when I first started, I did a succession planning survey. And what we did is I went, and it's not as, people weren't as worried about confidentiality, but I literally would be over at the department and I'd make sure that people had the time to get off the floor or come in and sit down and confidentially fill that out. So we're definitely going to make sure and all the departments are great about that. So we'll make sure we do that.
If you need any volunteers to do any cold calling, that's roughly 25 employees per council member. I'd be happy to make a call.
Thank you.
If there's no additional discussion, I would move that we send this to council for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? Clerk call the roll, please.
Jansen.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Barron.
Aye.
Neiman.
Aye.
Ayazi.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
Vogelsinger.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Beck.
Aye.
And Connolly.
Aye.
Motion carried 14-0.
Okay, thank you. Up next is item 12, which is ordinance 2248, amending a municipal code relating to water usage rates and service charges. Alderman Saron?
Is Gary there?
Yes, he is.
Yep. Good, because I want to hear you brag about us cutting back almost $1 million.
All right, if
Can't explain it.
If it's okay with everyone, I will cover items 12 and 13 together. They're basically related. The 2023 proposed budget contemplates rate increases for both the water and wastewater sanitary sewer utilities. Just a reminder that water, sanitary sewer, and electric are all enterprise funds. So revenues to those funds come from user fees in the form of rates. Those funds do not receive tax like real estate tax revenues. So those funds rely on rates for their revenues. Those funds, just like all of our other funds, have a reserve balance, and those funds also have capital projects. So those are kind of the three main criteria that are used then to calculate when and how much of a rate increase we might need. Based on upcoming projects in both the water and wastewater utilities, I've listed those projects in my memo. Prairie Street, water main replacement, the new section of Main Street, South Water Street. Then you're all aware of the upcoming wastewater treatment plant improvements, as well as you will become aware of Randall Road Lift Station. That one's out to bid right now. Based on those projects for those two utilities, we have determined that a 3% water usage rate increase is required for the water utility, and an 8% increase is required for the sanitary sewer utility to cover water and wastewater projects. So that's a summary of water and wastewater, and I'll stop there if there's any questions.
And those were the increases that we thought were coming. We had kind of planned out into the future several year increase.
We've been planning these since 2015. So yes, we're still on track since 2015.
And we haven't had to adjust them this time, so we're in good shape for what we plan.
It's what we're continuing to do. Yeah.
Never nice when we have to raise these because we all have to pay them. But the reality is we also have to keep the system working.
Gary, I have a question. Just, can you, I mean, I know we plan for these increases, but where are there, is this just putting money aside for maintenance, or are there additional costs like everywhere else in the world?
No, these are, again, primarily driven by what our fund balances will be, our reserve balances, I should say, will be, and also then the capital projects. So we know that we have capital projects coming. Those are things that are already on the books and are moving forward. And we know what our reserve fund balances are. And therefore, we need to have revenue in order to ensure that we have a proper reserve, maintain proper reserves going forward. So this, yes, maintenance plays into it, and personnel costs and all those other operational costs. That's a fourth component, if you will. And yes, all those costs have gone up, as well as capital costs. We know that the wastewater treatment plant has gone up considerably. So all of that is taken into account. That then boils down into how we come to these percentages and the need for these increases.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Well, let's start with the first one. I will make a motion to send to council an approval of ordinance 22-50, amending Title A, Chapter 1, Article A of the Municipal Code related to electric regulations and rates.
We didn't cover that one. You have to back up to item 12, which is ordinance 2248. That's first.
I'm sorry.
I know you want to get done with it.
The screen there, my computer screen and the screen that I'm looking at to talk are two different things. Okay, I sent to council ordinance 22-48, amending the municipal code relating to water usage rates and service charge.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Saron,
Aye.
Vogelsinger,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosato,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Connolly,
Aye.
Chancet,
Aye.
Silva,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Lehman,
Aye.
Ayazi,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
and Ewer.
Aye.
Motion carried 14-0.
Okay, and then next is the ordinance 2249, amending municipal code relating to sanitary sewer usage rates. Did you want to make a motion, Nick?
Anybody have any additional comments? Gary covered that as well. If not, I will make a motion to send to city council ordinance 22-49, amending the municipal code relating to sanitary sewer usage rates with a positive recommendation.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Saron,
Aye.
Vogelsinger,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosato,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Connolly,
Aye.
Chancet,
Aye.
Silva,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Lehman,
Aye.
Ayazi,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
and Ewer.
Aye.
Motion carried 14-0.
Thank you. Up next is then item 14, which is ordinance 22-50, amending Title 8, Chapter 1, Article A of Municipal Code related to electric regulations and rates. Alderman Saron?
Gary?
Thank you. In the first paragraph of my memo, I take an excerpt from the Clean Equitable Jobs Act, and from that excerpt, there's a sentence there that says that the General Assembly finds and declares that municipal systems and electric cooperatives shall continue to be governed by their respective governing bodies, but that such governing bodies, such as the City of Batavia, should recognize and implement policies to provide the opportunity for their residential and small commercial customers who wish to self. So earlier this year, the City of Batavia adopted policies, and we adopted framework for things like interconnection agreements and permitting for self-generation of renewable resources by our residential and small commercial customers. At that time, we said we would need to come back to you to officially define small commercial because such a rate doesn't exist in our current code. And at that time, we thought we were going to be taking our general service code class and splitting it and creating a new rate class altogether. We subsequently have done the analysis and determined that we're going to use the existing general service without demand rate classification, keep that rate classification in place, and simply add verbiage to the ordinance that the rate classification may also be referred to as small commercial. And the reason why we decided not to split this rate class is that, number one, the total number of customers, and number two, the range of those customers was such that we didn't have like a bunch of customers like at one end of the range and then another bunch at the top end of the range. The range was very distributed, very evenly, and the total number of customers was such that it just made sense to keep them all together, allow the opportunity for all of them to be counted and referred to as small commercial. And so these are folks like, Brianna's, I'll use just a small commercial, basically any of your small commercial people in town. That's who would be, on this rate class. And all of those people would be eligible under CEJA to be able to self-generate electricity. So by not splitting the rate class, we'll have more people that will be considered in the small commercial. So that's all this does, is just changes our ordinance to add that sentence, and therefore, actually, it's the last thing we needed to do to be then fully compliant with CEJA.
Okay. Can I ask, what is the total number of customers that would be, when you combine these two classes, what's it become?
Well, we're not combining two of them. We're just taking our existing rate class. I may have to defer to
We're not
Peggy.
splitting.
The total number of general service without demand right now? Roughly around 700 customers.
Wow. And then are the classifications solely by usage?
Generally by usage, yes.
Makes sense to me. Anybody have any comments, questions? Okay. With that, I would recommend positively to City Council Ordinance 22-50, amending Title 8, Chapter 1, Article of the Municipal Code related to electrical regulations and rates.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Saron,
Aye.
Vogelsinger,
Can I just ask Alan real quick, is this something that I can vote on? Because it relates to self-generation, or should I have stepped out? I'm sorry. I should clarify.
No, you can vote on this because it relates to the commercial customers, and that's a different rate class than yours.
I just wanted to confirm. That's
Sure.
kind of what I thought. Yes, thank you.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosado,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Connolly,
Aye.
Chanzit,
Aye.
Silva,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Lehman,
Aye.
Ayazi,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
and Ewer.
Aye.
Motion carried 14-0.
Earlier, we talked about water and sewer rate increases, and I'm going to very selfishly mention the fact that this year, since 2015 now, we have not had an electric rate increase, so I think it's good to point that out.
Okay, now what I'll call was my marquee item of the night, because we're finally getting this done, is Resolution 22-116R, authorizing change order number 9 with Williams Brothers Construction Incorporated for Phase 1 of the wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation project. Laura?
Yes, this certainly has been a cake that took a while to bake. We have been negotiating with the general contractor for Phase 1 of the wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation project regarding the liquidated damages amounts due at the end of the contract, and I'm happy to report that they have now been willing to accept our calculation for what that number is. And thus, we are bringing forward a change order number 9, which lists a number of adjustments that were made, including the calculation of the liquidated damages. And so we just need to get that approved here, and then we'll send it over to Williams Brothers for their acknowledgement as well.
You can see in there it's $765,000. We had held back
Yes.
a portion of the contract until this was settled, correct?
That's
So
correct.
that basically just affects what the last check we'll send to them.
Correct.
Would be. So that's how that setup works and how that's done. I'm just glad that this is finally over, that part of it is over with. I mean,
Yes.
I know we're still doing other phases, but that we get this settled and done.
Yes. The conclusion of this allows us to close out the project with the IEPA, which they have been contacting us about regularly, so.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Good job getting the liquidated damages clause enforced for almost $750,000.
Yeah. It is one of those that you step back and you look at it and you think of all the delay, I mean, some of you weren't here, but all the delays, all the problems, all the issues we had, and basically brought somebody else in at the end of it to go back through and fix everything. You know, it's still frustrating to be this far away from when that was all done and now finally getting it settled. I mean,
And I would be remiss if I did not give credit to Trotter and Associates, and particularly Jerry Ruth, that the impeccable record keeping that they have about what happens on these projects was critical to our being able to accomplish this. And then also Gary for all the time that he spent, and Byron Richardson too, who is now retired, spent a great deal of time being able to help us accomplish this result. So I'd like to thank all of them.
I'll make the motion that we recommend to council Resolution 22-116R, authorizing change order number 9 with Williams Brothers Construction Incorporated for Phase 1 of the wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation project.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, second by Solfa. Roll call, please.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Lehman,
Aye.
Ayasi,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer,
Aye.
Saron,
Aye.
Vogelsinger,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosado,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Connolly,
Aye.
Chanzit,
Aye.
and Sofa.
Aye.
Motion carried 14-0.
Okay, and then we move on to item 16, which is discussion of North River Street Newspaper Boy Alley Archway concept designs. And our favorite thing to do as a council is design by committee. At least we only have 3 choices, so.
4.
All right, okay. I'm saying 3. All right, Gary, enlighten us.
I was around in 2012 when we put the foundations in for the arch, which was going to happen. It never happened. We did work with the designer, same designer who actually has developed the city's entrance signs, and they have developed 3 different options that they were given to us. We looked through those 3 options. We kind of picked out some of the elements from those options that we liked, and then we really are here to hopefully discuss just the 4th option, which would be the last one, which I've got, I don't know if Laura can put up.
Yeah,
on the
I
screen,
can.
But I mean, I could show you all, but, and kind of tell you how we arrived at that 4th option. Concept A, B, and C, and then there was the last one. So we kind of liked the shape of A, minus the stone on the bottom. We really didn't much care for the stone at the bottom. And this is, again, just Laura and I, our thoughts. So we throw it to council for all of your considerations. Top to C kind of had the colored glass. We just felt that with already having a piece of artwork downtown on the bridge with that same type of colored glass, we eliminated that one. But we did want to, again, pick up the bicycle theme. So from B, as in boy, we had the bicycle tires. And so we wanted to take the newspaper boy alley wording kind of and the shape from A, but take those bicycle tires from B as in boy. And that's why you'll see on the concept there, that railing, Laura kind of pointed out, that railing actually will be like bicycle tires, to form that pedestrian railing there. And then we would do planters of some sort at the base to still provide that visual kind of anchor, but not have any sort of formal stone out there. We felt the stone would be maybe not the best match adjacent to the brick, and also in the context of having granite elsewhere throughout the Wooner. So we could do planters that would just identically match the other planters right on the street. So we throw out concept D for your consideration. From a practical matter, what we're going to do before we go to actual design, is once we decide on concept, we're going to build a very beautiful 2x4 structure out there to just kind of put it across. This way, when the grease truck shows up or our vac truck show up and we knock down the wooden 2x4s, we know we have a problem or we don't have a problem. So we want to do that step first. Build a wooden structure out there that'll only be out there for a few weeks, but we want to be able to run all the big trucks through it to make sure we can back up and fit through it. Once we all have that confidence, then we can turn them loose for design and real iron work and real aesthetics. But I'll be quiet now.
Okay, we'll open this up. I guess the first thing I want to say is I think that sounds fine to me. It looks good to me. Are we going to have some type of plaque or something on one of the uprights that will denote the story behind it?
What it
because
is?
so many people have no idea what the meaning of this is or why it's there.
It's a good idea.
So that was the only thing that I thought about, just one of those simple stainless steel signboards that's got the etched, writing on it to simply explain why it's there, what it means.
We can add this to the list of areas where we are doing our historical marker program.
And that was the thing I was going to say, is could we incorporate that and have that as part of one of the uprights? Just to make that simple, great thing to it, so that way the person that's never been in Batavia before walks by and looks at that and says,
What does this mean? This
Why?
newspaper boy, right?
Right.
is this here?
Well, I can tell you, I delivered papers in this city, and I don't have any idea what newspaper I was about.
It's
so-
way before us,
Yeah.
way before
But
us.
so anyway, I do like the idea of I like reading those little historical things.
It's just another point of interest when you're down there, and to be able to explain why it's there and the reasoning behind it, I think makes it to me, way more acceptable than however it's going to get bashed on.
Oh,
Because I guarantee you,
Oh, absolutely.
it will be,
Absolutely.
no matter what goes there.
Marcus, hand up.
I pledge I will not try to do a recall on this vote.
Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, can somebody tell me what Newspaper Boy Alley does refer to? Because I don't know. We keep on talking about this, but nobody's ever said what it's about.
I believe that's where the pickup was in downtown, where they delivered.
Jack's Toy Shop.
Yeah, every morning and every afternoon for about 40 years, they had where the Batavia Main Street office is now, the basement of that was the newspaper receiving and distribution. And if you were a paper boy in town, you rode your bicycle down there, east side, west side, loaded up how many papers you had to deliver, and then you went off and did them. And then on Sunday morning, when there was a huge number of people who had subscribed, paper boys would come down there, and then they would distribute a lot of those papers in trucks and cars. But they would all have to load them down here, and they would, they were all bundled, and they'd pick them out and say, okay, we need 39 for the southwest side of the Tribune, and we need 42 for the northeast side, or whatever the numbers were. And the kids would sit there and count them all out, and then everybody would jump on the truck, and away they'd all go. But this was where all the newspapers were distributed in Batavia for probably easily 40 years.
And I think it's just a neat little piece of history, and rather than just having basically an empty alley, when the street was designed, that thought was thrown out there that, hey, we should do something for that. And, not that we needed to build another arch, but, it just brings a little bit more attention to that alley.
And I'd like to give credit to Alderman O'Brien for bringing this
That's what I was
up
supposed to say.
from time to time.
Part of the theory too is to maintain that street wall along the whole edge of the roadway, and then across the street, the private alley already has its own archway and gate. So this would be just the last piece that's always been missing out there.
Alderman Chancy.
Okay. Dan, go ahead.
And don't forget Alderman Brown. It was he that made the motion during the mayor's downtown walk in his last few months to remind us to get this done.
You're right, Dan.
Abby was
Oh, Abby, go ahead.
And it's also, for those of you that don't bike a lot, there is an access point to the bike path there too, without having to use the stairs. It's a little bit of a switchback, so I can use it on my bike, but it is there. I wanted to throw in my 2 cents that I love the bicycle tires on the wheels on
That was Laura's idea. actually.
on the railing there. I think that's great. I kind of loved the colorful one. I thought that was kind of just different. But what I really attached to in that one is the map looking detail on the pillars. So that would be an element that I think maybe could be incorporated with whatever the favorite top piece was. But yeah, it's exciting having worked the farmers market down there for many years and the early morning runners and cyclists that knew on paper there's some way to get down there. I just can't figure out exactly where to go. This will bring a little bit more to it, make it a little bit more obvious.
And easier for people to give direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Then go through the arch.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would just point and I'd be like over there and I'd watch them pass it. I'm like, yeah, that's look obvious enough.
Leah?
So I love using Newspaper Boy Alley to get from the south side, the southwest side of the river to River Street, because I just take the bridge stairs down and then over instead of having to cross Wilson. But I will say, and I know that's like private property down that alley, but sometimes the garbage situation down that alley is very unfortunate. And so if we're going to encourage more pedestrian and bike traffic, is there a way we can get that cleaned up a little bit from a city perspective?
It's all private, not
Yeah.
from the city's perspective, yeah. We've worked with Main Street on that over the years, and I know Main Street has contacted property owners over the years.
The
We have an easement
individuals-
there to service our electric and our lift station, but you're right, it's private.
Yeah.
We have enforcement endeavors over there on occasion, and the property owners who are responsible for that know that things will escalate in terms of if it continues to be a problem.
So being that it is private property, do we have an easement down that roadway?
Yeah, the alley is public.
Alley. The alley's
alley's public.
Okay.
I think the actual physical connection, like through that sidewalk down there, gets to be onto private property.
Okay.
If my memory serves me from years
Yeah,
back.
as I recall too, Gary, the Miras building is like the back of that building. The other buildings aren't that deep,
That's
right?
correct.
And so that's the part that ends up being privately owned, I think.
Right,
is
that
strip.
right, exactly.
So even looking down this photo we have right here, we see the garbage cans right there. Is
Yes.
that up against that wall that's private?
No, I think that what you see entirely on this photo is public, but if you could look behind the Miras building.
Right.
That's private then, back there. And they actually park cars back in there.
Absolutely. But like
That's all
those
private.
garbage cans we see
That
right
garbage
there
can is sitting on public.
property.
Yeah,
Oh.
and we allow them to use it.
Yeah.
They've been using it for years, and again, working with Main Street and the property owners.
Seems like much stricter. If it's on our property
Yeah.
and the garbage that could be back there, I feel like it'd be much stricter.
We can be.
They could do a fundraiser for cinder blocks. And I bet you if they did it during the farmer's market and called it out, they might be able to get enough cinder blocks to build a garbage enclosure in a weekend or two.
The problem with the enclosure there is that it would inhibit our vac truck from being able to access.
Yeah, we.
Well, I wouldn't
We're
say on
trying-
our property. I'm saying if it's
the
their,
private
if it's
property.
their private garbage cans, it should be on their private property.
I don't think there's enough width there for the garbage dumpsters to fit on that.
Right, I
side.
don't think they can fit, I think part of it is they want to maintain parking back there, and so if they want to
They
maintain
can't.
parking, they don't have room for everything else back there. That's how it ends up, the way it ends up.
You can have garbage or you can have cars. Why do you
Yeah.
have garbage?
The property owners have both businesses on the main floor and they have residences above. And so that's why it's important to them to maintain the parking there, because otherwise it would be much more difficult for them to rent their apartments.
So the Main Street building is there too, correct?
Main Street building is
Is
there,
there-
the space they rent.
Wondering if there's a space behind that that could be turned into a garbage enclosure.
The full width, I think, of the back of their building is the stairway, the wooden stairway.
Mhm.
Big, I think it's a full width deck,
Okay.
3 floors, and on the bottom floor, I think there is some storage and then a door, large door going into the
Basement of it,
workshop
okay.
that's down there, and I don't know who is renting that space, but underneath the stairway, I wonder if there's space for.
I mean, maybe that's
But
something that
they
we look
don't
at.
have that's a property owner
Right, that's not.
that doesn't have any of the tenants that are using the garbage cans. So I think it would be hard to
Right.
force that individual to.
So who put those garbage cans out there? Did we put those out there for them?
They've been
No.
out there since prior to the streetscape project, as far as I know. They've been out there as long as I've worked here.
So if they
been
disappear
years.
because they're on our property.
Well, they are the property.
They are the
of
property owners.
Right, and I think this is something where we have to come up with a creative
Garbage company, I
solution
think,
to it,
owns them.
not try to enforce our way out of having garbage cans on public property. I think there needs to be a way to sit down and figure out, there's got to be, 5 property owners there? If that we can figure out how to do this and make it work, so that way we don't have that issue of garbage cans out in the public right away.
So right now, they have access to garbage that is basically right out their back door. And so, if we came up with a solution where they had to put it someplace other than in that alley, they would be probably hauling it a block or two away through down sidewalks and across streets. And so bringing it out into the public in that manner may present other issues with, grease draining and whatever.
You aren't going to break my heart. I know this has been an
Yeah.
issue with Public Works for years.
I don't think tonight's the night that we're gonna solve
The
that.
the garbage issue?
Yeah.
Right.
But it should be a walk.
That might be a good project for a small group to go out, take a look at, and brainstorm
Sit
some
down,
ideas.
yeah, sit down with property owners.
Main
and
Street
come up
should
with
be
an
involved
idea.
in that, because Main Street has
Right.
always spearheaded.
Stuff like that.
They've tried to at least just consolidate it, like get them all on the same
Yeah.
contract and put them into one dumpster, so there's one instead of 4.
One dumpster instead of
But even
4.
that has been problematic, but I still think we can do it. So we should try.
Yeah,
Again, you're not going to
Continue
break
to
my
poke
heart.
at
They've
it
always
and
been a problem
guide.
for us.
What'd you say?
yeah,
Continue to poke at it and guide and say, we need
Yeah.
to move these garbage cans.
yeah. We would like to make this better, and for them as well as, the general public.
I honestly like the concept A with the bike at the top. But again, looking at it, I don't like it with the
Stone
at the bottom.
down. I think going all the way down, and the third concept that Abby pointed out with the mat, I think that would be cool.
I think that could easily be incorporated into the columns of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things about this first concept, Alderman Barron, was that it's newspaper boy alley and so that trying to fit all of the right words into the title that it's been known as, we could, kind of have it be a riff on newspaper boy alley.
Well, maybe
But-
some way incorporating it, like we put the bike down on concept 3. Have the bike down and then also the tires down on the other side, and then have the newspaper boy alley up at the top.
So is the railing that's in picture 3, is that our railing that's there now?
Actually, part of that railing's not even standing anymore. This is an old picture.
But is it our railing on that?
It was done with the streetscape, but we've never maintained it.
Okay.
It's always been. If you look, there's actually just a slight drop off the edge of that walkway.
Okay.
I'm not a code person. I would argue you probably don't even need a railing there, but visually it looks better to have a railing there
Yeah.
to separate the alley from the entrance to the building, and that's why we just proposed the new
The
railing.
railing there.
Incorporate the bicycle elements. And we maybe can incorporate the bicycle elements right into that railing.
Well, and if you're saying that railing's falling apart,
Oh, yeah, no,
That
part
might-
of the railing's not even standing anymore.
that might be, I see that as a safety issue.
Again, not really ours. It's really that building entrances, but I think we were gonna work with that building.
Well, if somebody
Yeah,
walks
redo
down
it.
that alley and then trips up, falls, is kind of what I'm looking.
That's why you should have a railing there. I'm not arguing you don't want to have a railing there. Even though the drop-off between the two is very minimal, it just provides that visual separation.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like doing the, instead of having a railing, doing the spokes as the railing. And then, only having one planter, and then you can have the bike
Mm-hmm.
by the nearest entrance.
Does the garbage truck actually go down that alley? to
There's
pick
a
up
grease
the
truck
things?
that goes down
The
there.
grease truck too? Okay.
Yeah, and we go down there.
Right, I know we go down there with the
Regular.
vacuum
And the garbage
right?
truck does go down there.
The garbage truck does go down it, okay.
That's why I said we're gonna build a very lovely wooden 2x4,
And leave it out there for a week and
leave it
let
out
them
there
all
for
go
a couple
through
of
it?
weeks, just make sure it doesn't get hit.
It's a tight
And then
fit.
and then
Yeah,
we'll
it
take
is.
it down and we can go forward from there.
My only concern with the bicycle that's in concept C is just depending on how sturdy that is, you will have children climbing on that regularly and sitting on it, and so would it take that kind of wear and tear?
Part of us too, having a big, I mean, I see that as more of an obstacle for backing a truck
Yeah.
and trying to avoid that. I'm not opposed at all to incorporating a bicycle somehow in that railing feature, having bicycle and bicycle wheels somehow in that railing.
Mhm.
That would make more sense. Or moving the bicycle to the other side. I don't quite know yet.
The other question I have is what kind of material is this being built out of? Is it, like when we talked about the entranceway signs, I think it was kind of like a rustic to match the Peace Bridge is the,
I wouldn't do this with
I-
Corten steel, which is the rusty type of steel. I would do it with something that's probably going to be like powder coated.
Powder coated.
And it's going to be some sort of metal that'd be powder coated with longevity.
And then would you do the wheels and stuff with stainless steel, right?
Yeah.
So that way there's, other than attachment points, you're not really worried about anything.
The railings on the bridge are a good example. I mean, the railings on the bridge have been there now since 2008, right? 2007, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all still in fairly decent condition, and those are all just powder coated steel. You got to plan on every 15 years or so, you're going to have to repaint them.
So is anybody adverse to some type of version of 4 with the railing?
I've heard some support for the down railings being the same as
Like for number 3.
C.
Yeah, I like that.
More interesting.
Black to explain the history, incorporating some sort of bicycle element, physical bicycle element, not just the wheels. That one may have to go back to the designers on.
And if you were to take the bike and put it up vertically instead of on the ground,
May address
that would keep people from trying to
Right.
sit on it. They might hang on it or something, but
Right.
at least
So
they
that's-
wouldn't be trying to sit on it if it was a vertical.
We'll have to rely on the creativity of the
Right,
designer.
and then
They'll
I'm
up
sure
with
they can
something.
come up with something.
I mean, my concern is that now it's getting really busy. We're trying to do all the elements in that space.
Why don't we just add the colors to it?
Because I do appreciate these columns on C, but they are busier than on D, and so then with the wheels and the bike and it all, it's now starting to get a little visually overwhelming.
Do you want to do one with the bike and one without the bike?
Good design.
Yeah, we'll come back. We're still at the concept stage here, so.
And I do
What
kinda
about the
like
bike from 1 up in the top,
Mhm.
incorporated into 4? Or
That was the thing they were saying, that it's not enough space to put
Newspaper boy
a
alley.
smaller bike on the left, because there's an open space on the left side of the newspaper boy.
do a
Oh,
small
yeah.
bike.
Okay.
Yeah, do a
See what you're
smaller
saying
bike.
there.
Over
Well,
there
the
on the
other thing
left.
that I was asking is where are the columns gonna go, and is there a space between the columns from, to the Mirus building?
There's pads out there on the ground right now that were incorporated when the street was built.
I don't.
I know, but when you, all you gotta do is walk out there and look, there's two pads, one on each side of the alley that are concrete, that are there.
Right now.
I don't know how quickly, Laura, you could pull up Street View, but you can see those on Street View, in Google Street View. They're little circles, concrete circles. Yeah, I know.
I like D.
I wish Drew
I
Racca
think it-
was
yeah.
here.
I
That's all
think
right,
it's
I'll pull
clean.
it
I
up.
think
Thank
it's not
you.
too busy.
All we're gonna do is drill into those and anchor to them.
I agree, Mike. I like
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
I like
D
D.
looks fine just the way it is.
Same.
I like D with the possibility of the bike.
I like the straight lines at the top of A better than the top of D being a little swoopy, but like, I'm not totally offended by it either.
Alderman Wolf, how did you start this conversation?
I told you. I mean,
Really good at
I've been through enough of these, Gary, the 20 years that I've been here. There is no easy way to do this when you've got this many.
Feels like the logo discussion.
Actually, I think we have we have good direction enough to go back to
we
the
do.
designers.
And Alderman Vogelsinger has her hand up.
Okay.
I have nothing terribly revolutionary to say. I like D. I'm very partial to bicycles. I do like the cleaner look and would not want it to get too jumbled up either. Yeah, so thank you.
Thanks.
I have a collection of bicycle tires in various sizes for a very similar application at my house. If anybody wants to like go out and just play with it. My husband would love to get rid of
Okay, so I think you have direction.
Yeah, we'll come
and
back.
Come back
to-
with something that is less choice, more what we think they can.
We'll hone it in.
Right. Well, and somebody else is a designer. We're not. We're just
Right. Us
visual
either.
and looking at it and
Yep.
what we all like.
Because what we're going to hear is that those 2x4s are
Oh,
ugly.
I
Why
know.
would we do
I know.
that?
That's why I'm warning you ahead of time.
This was the
They
arch
look
that
like
they got?
cheese sticks.
How
Why
much
do
did
have
they
cheese
pay for
sticks
this?
out there?
Warning you ahead of time, but I think it is a vital part of
I
the
know.
process.
And definitely,
I'd rather knock over a $2.97
Right.
Oh, you can just
Where
tell
you
them
find
that
the
we're
$2
saving.
yeah. Where you got those hidden out there at Public Works already? You bought them 3 years ago.
Oh, I know. You're right.
Okay, so we are done with that one. And now we move on to a discussion, replacement of assistant to the city administrator with management analysis.
Yes, rather than make like, knee-jerk reaction would be where there's a vacancy to just replace it with the same type of position. But instead, we took the opportunity to rethink what we really need right now. And more, we are hearing the case for data-driven decision-making, also researching best practices that might exist elsewhere. We have a great deal of need for project management, and then also the creation of reports both internally and externally. Oftentimes when we're asked for reports, it is falling on the shoulders of the heads of the departments to collect the data and the research, produce the reports, and then present them here. And that was a lot of, in the previous position, other than the economic development activities that Anthony was doing, that the assistant to the city administrator was performing. Given the number of activities that we see on the horizon with regard to projects that align with the Climate Action Plan and the Greenest Region Compact, we were hoping that perhaps we can find an individual who has interest in those areas and might have the potential to develop into a future sustainability position for the city of Batavia. But right now, we'd like to start with as a more general type of position that could be definitely a great help to the administration department, but I've also discussed it in general with senior staff, and they too feel that this would be a role that could help them as well with the types of projects that I described. With that, I'll open up to any questions that you might have.
Questions? Mark, you got your hand up? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I like the idea of data analysis as well, and I think it actually kind of makes sense because I'd like to see more data on job performances as well. You know, unfortunately, I'm gonna pick on Anthony and his new role a little bit because the idea of that role when we created it was, hey, this is a role that pays for itself. And so being able to have good analytics for a variety of different reasons, but having KPIs that we can say, see, this is what this role brought to the community. This is what this role saved in dollars for the community. And this is the things that they're doing in their jobs. I mean, it should be part of a review. What are you doing to, you know, the ideal thing is everybody in their own job pays for their salary by what they accomplish and what they save or what be it. So I'm okay with this, and I believe this is the same pay grade.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so then it makes sense. But I love the idea of starting to get some more analytics just across the board. It's a much better way to make decisions. So,
and I like the fact that we've identified what things that were past responsibilities of Anthony's that will be part of this, such as the FOIA side of it, because that I know is can be really onerous sometimes. And then also what would be different and what would be new on there, and identifying those now so that we can, you know, analyze a year or two from now, did this actually serve the purpose of what we thought it was going to be? Anybody else?
Okay, Wendy, then I think it just requires a update of the wage ordinance then to add this as a position.
And then come
And
up
it
with
is
a-
budget neutral.
And then come up with a, I can't think, not job like application, but.
Yes, posting.
A posting and get it out there and find
Yes,
somebody.
yes. With your permission, we'd like to post and advertise for the position because it takes a couple of months to get someone in place, and the sooner the better. Thank you.
Okay. Then we will move on to number 18, which is project status. Laura?
In our project status today, I wanted to, for one thing, focus on the PPS department. It is the Public Properties and Services Division, and it is a division that a few years ago actually didn't exist. And it is, the superintendent is Scott Haynes, and there are 3 other individuals that work in that department. When it first was created, only one of, and it was Scott Haynes, was an arborist, and since then, each one of the members of the department have taken it their own time to attend classes and pass certifications to be certified arborists. They also have contributed in gaining the skills to maintain our urban forests. We used to spend a lot of money hiring contractors to perform that work, and now we are able to do a tremendous amount of that work on our own, which not only is for the health of our urban forest, but also for the health of our utilities that run close to those that urban forest as well. So just wanted to say a special thanks to that particular division and the work that they're performing, and thank you to City Council for allowing us to create that division. Also, progress is continuing on the Government Center remodeling project. They're on track to complete phase 1 of this work by February of 2023. We're expecting this week that the water main work will be completed, and also that the new staircase will be completed in the near the police lobby as well. Let's see, anything else? No, I think that's it, unless anybody has any questions for me.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
since we just got done with going through the other stuff for assistant, we also need to get name changed on the signs that are out on all the properties we have for the contact information. I think
Yes,
they also have Shannon's name on them.
that's in process.
Okay.
Bill Kellum
Somebody
was-
asked me about that.
Yeah, he said as soon as he's done with leaves. So I'm going to have to remind him now because he's done with leaves. That we'll get those names changed. Thank you. Oh, somebody else that I wanted to highlight tonight was our police and fire departments and the services that they provide for our community events. We had a lot of community events this weekend between the state championship football game and our police department and fire department escorting them, out of town and then back into town after the games. But, they also get right in there and participate in these events as well. For instance, the police department had an officer participating in reading to all the children at the tree lighting events. So just wanted to say thank you to them for their participation in those events.
Anybody else have any others? Anything else?
Sarah.
Sarah, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I know that, talking about the electrical rates tonight, I wanted to see if we could revisit the conversation about residential rates, and reimbursement for those with, solar panels. I know I won't be able to participate in the conversation, but when we, made the decisions and had those conversations, it was intended to revisit that conversation. So at some point in the future, when there is an agenda that's not too heavy, could we get that as an item for discussion?
Sure, maybe after the first of the year, would that be okay?
Oh,
Wonderful.
absolutely. Yes, thank you.
Gary is headed to the microphone.
I guess I don't remember in the context in which you're making the request. I mean, we haven't even had this rate a year yet. This is the first year that council had decided on the step down of the transition factor. So that by 2025, we would be down to full or to true wholesale rates. I don't, again, so maybe you can, I don't remember going back to this discussion. Maybe you can help us to remember going back to revisit it.
It was just stated that we would revisit it, see how much growth there had been in the, as far as how many more homes had adopted solar.
Yeah, we can certainly provide that information as to that. Thank you. That helps to clarify. We can certainly provide that information as to who has adopted solar this year. Just off the top of my head, I don't think it's been very many people, but we can certainly bring that forward. That's easy.
Yeah, Laura provided that information a couple meetings ago. I think it was 8 homes this year had adopted solar.
Yes.
It's just, I want to revisit the concept of reducing that rate, going down to the wholesale rates, seeing if we could extend that out even further for those that are solar customers.
Yeah, so that'd be a policy discussion.
Okay, because I thought we were going to discuss that after a year, I think is what we had. I have to go back and look at the minutes from that, but I thought it was a year that we said we were going to revisit that and see if we needed to adjust anything.
So we make the adjustment for bills issued after August 1st of each year.
Right. Okay. So I wanted to make sure we had the discussion before the next adjustment would be made.
Okay. We can do that after the first year. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
I just forgot what else I was going to ask. Anybody else have any others? Okay. If not, motion for adjournment?
No move.
Motion by Malay.
Second.
Second by Solfa. All in favor?